Hey, it's Adam here, and welcome to another episode of the Smart Business Show here with the man, the Tim Chisones. Today's episode topic is pivot to profits. How to change when change is hard. And the reality is that if you want to be able to survive in business and be very successful and consistently remain profitable, you got to be able to change and adapt. So today we're going to be diving in a little bit more mindset, some strategy. We're going to share some stories, and we're going to have some fun.
All right.
Should we take them on the journey?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, when Tim and I have been building out our companies, we have the e-learning side, we have the Dream Factory side, and what we were doing is we were doing really well in sales, and it got to the point where like things are going really well, but we ended up breaking our own system, meaning that we had so many clients in our agency that we were at full capacity, and the only solution was to keep hiring or to shut the agency down, and then we would have to eat all the salaries with no incoming revenue anymore.
Yeah.
So talk about that process and the decision that we had to pivot immediately to continue keeping the business healthy.
So it was one of those moments where we're like, oh God, what do we do, right? And it's a good problem to have, right? But you want to think about, as a business, a smart business, you don't want to have to eat the salaries to figure something out.
Exactly.
Right? So, thinking through the process of, okay, what's working right now? Okay, obviously clients want this. They want this service, and we're getting them insane results. That's why we're so full. However, we have a capacity problem now, right? So like you said, do we hire more? Do we do this? Do we do that? And so after hashing it out, we figured out, okay, we have to figure out a way to scale this thing.
Yeah.
So, but in order to scale, we had to kind of pivot our approach.
Right, exactly.
So, and pivot that approach to introduce some kind of continuity that we can ride on.
Exactly. And that's what we were missing. We were missing a continuity or reoccurring, revenue stream. And so we had to add on our new membership and really create this irresistible reoccurring membership. And we had some continuity stuff in the back end. It was bringing in some revenue, but not enough to really sustain, the overhead to run it. So we had to really go to the table and say, okay, what's the most irresistible offer that we can create for a membership? And why don't you tell them what we came up with for that membership?
Yeah, so we came up with basically live classes that also includes all of our online programs and trainings. And so we came up with a way to do live classes, almost like group coaching, that we hold every week. They get the recordings, they get the courses that's going to help them build a smart business along the way, and we're going to help them along the journey. So because it is a process.
Right, exactly. So we have an instructor on Tuesday teaching on leads and sales. We have an instructor on Wednesday teaching social media for audience growth and engagement. And then we have another instructor, Mr. Tim Chisones, teaching on funnels and copywriting and being able to really, build out and scale through your funnels. So it's live every single week. And so that membership has been just an absolute hit. I mean, it's been growing. The client feedback has just been insane. I mean, it's really built more community, more culture. And what's interesting is that we've spent a lot of time creating a lot of different products. I mean, products that have taken us months to create. And then we had to get this up, I want to say within, a week or two. We had to come up.
A week.
Yeah, we got it up in a week, and it's been our number one hit product, aside from our agency stuff. And so with that, that's just the power of pivoting and being able to sometimes pivot into your success right away. And so a lot of times we can resist change because we spend so much time creating something that we think is going to be awesome. But what we discovered is that community is even valued more than just knowledge by itself. And that's the power. So sometimes if you're creating something, if it's not connecting you with your people, then it may not be as valuable as just spending hours and hours and hours creating something and never actually launching it, or maybe launching it, but it's not connecting. So you got to be able to pivot and really see what your audience wants, and it doesn't always have to take a long time. Sometimes that pivot can lead you right into your success.
Yeah, and a lot of times you pivot because you're at a point where you're like, I'm either going to have to stop doing what I'm doing completely, or this thing's going to break.
Exactly.
Right? Or like you said, or it's not working.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
And sometimes when you pivot, like for us, for example, we already knew what our market wanted. We already had the resources and the assets to actually make that pivot really fast. Sometimes it might take you some time to figure out where to pivot, how to pivot, how to bring this on, and do I got to bring someone on, so the pivoting could be a little bit stressful at first, especially for like the solopreneur who needs to figure something out fast, right?
Exactly.
But a lot of times you'll find, I've had to pivot in my personal business a lot of times. And what I found is that one shift completely altered, like, not only my business, but also the people that I was attracting. Right?
Absolutely.
So coming up with something completely different, it might be a little scary. Sometimes
Exactly.
a little scary to take that leap, but it's important and it's necessary to keep growing your business.
Absolutely. And one of the pivots that I've even had to make is pivoting to coming up with the smart business itself, right? It's a message that I'm able to evangelize and talk about over and over and over. And it's at the point now where people even know exactly what the smart business stands for. It's a scalable, mission-driven business that's automated with revenue streams run by team. That's the acronym. And so I have clients, I have people listening to the show who know what it stands for. And it's a message that I can evangelize over and over and over again. So making that pivot, even to just adjust that story, because I didn't have a story to promote. I'm like, what do I talk about? We do so many things. We help businesses with leads. We help businesses make sales. We help businesses scale online. We build brands. We offer a lot of different things. And so I was like having so many conversations with the team, like, how do I talk about this? Right? Like, what do I talk about? Maybe you're listening to this thinking, yeah, I do a lot of things too. I offer this service. I offer that. It's like being able to have one message that speaks to your audience. And then as your audience comes to you, you're like, hey, I can help you in these areas. And so what was so fascinating is even I got off of stage off of a speaking engagement the other day. I was talking about a smart business, and the leads, we have an application form, and the leads were coming in. Some leads said, I need to increase cash flow. I need to build out my brand. I need to get my optimal selling process, all the things I was teaching on. And it was so amazing to just see just an influx of inbound leads come in from different business solutions that we can help businesses with. And because of the message, it brought in that result. So being able to pivot, if your message is not connecting and bringing you inbound leads, then maybe even pivoting to evangelize your message.
Yeah, and that's a crucial point you just made, is making a pivot isn't always about pivoting your products or services or your marketing method, right? Pivoting could be just pivoting your message. Hey, I'm not hitting that right point with my market. They're not biting on this. Something's not connecting here. Let's shift the message, right? Let's make a more powerful message. So pivoting doesn't always have to be about the things you're selling, the things you're marketing. It could be about what you're saying, how you're saying it, the stories you're telling. You might want to pivot that one story, and you'll open the floodgates.
Yeah, absolutely. So you might be wondering what you should pivot in your business to be able to get more results. And so there's 5 key pillars that you want to be aware of at all times in your business. You have pillar number 1, which is your lead flow. Pillar number 2, which is your sales process. Pillar number 3, which is your fulfillment, how you actually help your clients. Pillar number 4 is your follow-up. What are you doing to stay connected to your database or existing client base for more offers? And then pillar number 5 is people. So what you want to be able to do is look at those 5 pillars in your business and say, okay, how can I pivot to make each one of these areas stronger? And so when you're setting out your goals and you're putting your goals down by quarter, you're just focused on making major key improvements to one thing at a time. And I like to think about them like bricks. Every time I'm building something, I'm putting one strong brick after one strong brick so that it lasts, and so that one day the business can truly be an asset that can really run itself. And that's a smart business. And I think that people have gotten away from realizing that they're here to build an asset. You're here to build an asset when you're building your business so that you can be able to increase cash flow year after year. Be able to create some more free time for yourself because you've gotten more leverage. And so if you're not conscious about those pivots to getting towards that bigger vision, then you got to be able to make that time to create change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought up those 5 pillars, because it's so important. If something's not working in your business, maybe it's a lead flow, maybe it's a sales flow, maybe it's a cash flow, right? Either one of those, you want to look at those 5 pillars. So if you didn't write that down, rewind this, write it down, and look at your business, and think through the process of what can I pivot first. So if it's a little overwhelming, you're looking at the 5 pillars and you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, how do I, where do I even start? Sit in the thought and look at your business, get honest with yourself and say, okay, it's a traffic thing, or it's my message. I would actually start there.
Yeah.
Look at your message. Is it strong enough?
Right.
Is it hitting the pain points and the desires of your
audience.
Market?
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's not, then start there. Pivot that. See what happens. Keep everything else the same. Just pivot that one thing. And if that works, and say, okay, could I pivot my sales process a little bit more?
Exactly.
You know?
And when you have the right strategies and you have the right structure and you feel like for whatever reason you're just not executing it, that's when it's time to pivot your mindset. And that's why it's not enough to just have 7-figure strategies or have maybe your first 6-figure strategy. You also need that 6-figure mindset or that 7-figure mindset. And so it's also pivoting the mind to be able to think differently, because it's never a money problem like we talk about. Yeah. It's a thinking problem, right? So pivoting thinking. And so where do you pivot thinking? It's about getting out of your own mind, listening to things like this, being able to subscribe to other key channels, listen to read great books. I just actually got a book Tim gave me, and it's a 0 to 100 million by the guy who created Agora Financial. Crazy read, right? It talks about the phases from like 0 to 1 million, 1 million to 10 million, and then 10 million to 100 million, and what it looks like. And so you want to talk about like blowing my mind. I'm like constantly having all these like crazy ideas, and vision is being stretched and new ideas are coming in, and the power of knowledge can change everything. And so we got to be constantly feeding our minds and pivoting mentally, emotionally, right? Being able to become more emotionally intelligent is another area. And what I mean by that is communication, right? Being able to communicate more effectively, not just with our team or with people around us or with our clients, but with ourselves, being aware of our needs, right? So being able to grow emotionally, mentally in our business, constantly sharpening our tools. You got to be able to pivot in order to profit, and you got to be able to change even though change is hard, and being able to have a right team and environment around you helps with that.
Absolutely. And one last thing on the communication part, that's what you're doing in business. So if you can't effectively communicate with yourself or those around you, you're gonna struggle communicating to your market.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So going internal and communicating with yourself more, getting more clear on what you want and what you're doing, is going to help you communicate more to the market, which is going to help you grow your business, and then it's just this nice cycle that just feeds itself. So
absolutely,
I love that.
Well, we want to thank you for being on the show. Make sure if you're listening to the podcast, you give us a 7-star rating. I know there's only 5 stars, but also submit your questions. So go to my personal IG, Instagram at Flores. Send me a question. If you send me an audio, I can actually play it here on the show, and we can feature you on the actual show itself. So send me an audio on Instagram. Tim and I will take your questions.
There you go.
And rather than pay us thousands of dollars for consulting, take us up on the free offer that is on the table. You got to do it. So go ahead and submit your audio questions to my Instagram, and we'll answer them on the next Smart Business Show. Until then, we'll see you on the next episode. Make sure that you pivot to profit.
Take care, guys.